Good morning. Welcome to Hatha Yoga with Carol. Good to see you all again, though I don't really get to see you. I feel like sometimes when I teach through Zoom, I can see all the different names, and I'll kind of call them out as they sign in. I feel like dating myself back in the day when Romper Room, they used to call out the names. We'd all wait until we heard our name. So welcome. Thanks for taking this hour for yourself. We're going to be focusing on the feet today, different things around the feet, and kind of tying it into a strong foundation, grounding. So we'll be focusing on the physical, but I think hopefully it'll help us build some of our mental grounding and balance and stability. So grab your few props if you've managed to collect some things around the house. Come to your space. Come to your comfortable seat, which is, I always say, whatever that is for you. So if that's sitting with your feet straight out in front of you, or sitting cross-legged, or leaning up against the wall, please choose the one that you're going to be the most comfortable in as we move through a little bit of our connecting to our breath and our warm-up. So closing the eyes if that's comfortable. Otherwise, lowering the eyelids. Maybe looking down in front of the floor in front of the feet. And let's come to notice the breath. Noticing the sensation of breath at the nostrils. Maybe noticing that it's cooler as it comes in through the nasal passages, maybe even as it goes down the throat. And then noticing that it's a little warmer as you exhale across the upper lip. Let's think about our three-part breath, or sometimes called the yogic breath, or in Sanskrit it's dirga. We're on the first third of the breath. We really fill the belly, in the middle of the chest, and then the top of the chest. Sometimes placing the hand, left hand over the heart, right hand on the belly. Maybe just that little bit of sensory will help you feel that breath. Maybe counting the 1, 2, 3 is something that works for you. We're just trying to connect to the breath, calm the nervous system. And maybe even that visualization of filling the 2 or the 3 different sections. Or like I say, sometimes I imagine an elevator going up to the top of the chest and then going back down when I exhale. So thinking about different things today, like I said, the focus will be on the feet and the lower legs. But even maybe in this next hour, just when you find the mind wandering, think about those things that help ground you. So the things that maybe help you feel a little less anxious. Is there that person that you might call? Is there that place you might go to? And if you can't physically go to that place, I know my cabin is one of those places, and we've not been going because we've not been traveling into BC. But I can go there in my mind. I can visualize. It's best to visualize, maybe smell what the air smells like. I always imagine myself sipping a coffee on my deck, so that taste of the coffee, the smell of the coffee, maybe the feeling of the sun on my skin. So it's a lot like when you hear people saying, go to your happy place. Well, instead of physically going to your happy place, just try and bring that mental image into your head, bringing in maybe even touch, sight, smell, taste. can really go a long ways to helping us calm down, relax. Just a couple more breaths. And then we can slowly open the eyes. Let's move through our warm-up, a circle of joy. Inhale, arms up overhead, interlocking the fingers, either pressing the wrists to the ceiling or keeping them pointed down. Exhale, round in the back, arms forward. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, hands behind the back, interlocking the fingers, pressing them down towards the floor. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, left hand down, right arm up and over. Inhale through center, right hand down, left arm up and over. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, folding forward. Let's take an extra breath here. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, twisting left, right hand, left knee, sitting up tall. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, twist right, left hand, right knee, sitting up tall. Inhale, arms up. And exhale, hands to prayer. If the legs are crossed, let's switch up which leg is in front. And we'll move through that one more time. Inhale, arms up. Stretching up to the ceiling. Exhale, round in the back, arms forward. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, hands behind the back, interlocking the fingers, pressing the wrists down. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, left hand down, right arm up and over. Inhale through center, right hand down, left arm up and over. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold. Let's take an extra breath. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, twisting left, right hand, left knee, sitting up tall. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, twist right. Inhale, arms up. And exhale, hands together in prayer. Let's take an extra breath here. So staying seated, though I'm just going to come off of my bolster. Let's stretch both legs out, holding the toes out or flexing the feet so the toes are pointing to the ceiling. And just see if you can begin to spread them wide. I know I've got more ability with the left foot than the right. So they might not move very much, that's okay. But what I've always tried to work towards as I start to work with the feet a little more is that I'm going to have a stronger base, for instance, with my hands in down dog or anywhere else that I might be supporting. I'm not going to have very good support stability if my fingers are tight together and I'm kind of curling them, gripping the mat, which is what we tend to do with our feet. So some of the things I'll be going through today, we can maybe start to practice and see if we can get to that point with our feet. Now, I don't know that everyone has balls. We would actually work with balls a bit today. If you do have one of those softer balls, practicing picking it up with your feet is a good one. And then obviously rolling around the bottoms of the feet to kind of break up that fascia. So let's bring the right foot in. We can kind of come into sort of a seated thread the needle or whatever you need to do to comfortably bring this right foot a little closer. I'm going to weave my fingers in between my toes. Now, this may or may not be available to you. You might have the fingers a little bit up more towards the top of the toes, and you can manipulate the toes a little bit to get them in there. So it's going to feel weird now that they're in there. And I know we're trying to do what a lot of people wear, those yogi toe things, doing kind of the same thing, bringing the toes apart. So just waiting for a moment, just letting this settle, that feeling of having the fingers between the toes. And then let's just manipulate the toes a bit. So pushing them away a little, pulling them forward, and just back and forth. And then maybe even just moving, including the ankle a bit, but just moving with the fingers in the toes. I think just having the fingers in there just helps to start manipulating them, bringing them a little bit further apart. Let's change direction with the ankle circle. And then let's release the hand out of the right foot, pulling the left foot in. And same thing, weaving my fingers in between the toes. I know for me, this foot is got a little bit more give. It's a little easier for me to weave my fingers in. And if this really, really hurts your toes, like with anything else, back off. Maybe don't place a finger in between certain toes. So pushing the toes away and then back. So kind of pointing and flexing the toes with the hand. And then maybe adjusting the foot a little so we can do a few ankle circles. Changing direction. Excellent. And then let's release the fingers. Let's stretch the feet out in front again. Give those toes a good... And then I'm just going to show you one that we'll do just briefly, but it's one that you can practice maybe when you're sitting somewhere where you can have your legs out in front of you. And I'm just going to show between the big toe and the first toe, but you could potentially do this between each toe. Is I'm going to take that kind of skinny part of my back of my ankle, so kind of where the Achilles is, and I'm just going to tuck it in between the two toes. So I might sit like this for a while. We're not going to sit like this for very long. Today, I more wanted to show it to you. So again, that's something that's going to help increase that little bit of space between the toes. And if you're just sitting watching a show or whatever, this is one way to just affect that stretch between the toes. Excellent. Let's come around onto hands and knees. Hands under shoulders, knees under hips. Let's start to warm up the spine with our cat-cows. Inhale, lifting the chest, pointing the tailbone to the ceiling. Exhale, round in the back. Chin to chest, tailbone pointing down. Moving back and forth with your own breath. And then as I inhale, lift up, I'm pulling my hands towards my knees and just activating the arms. Exhale, pushing the hands away as I round the back. Let's move through several breaths. And then coming back to neutral, let's tuck the toes. And then exhale, pushing the hips back towards the heels. We'll stay here for a minute. The first little stretch of the bottoms of the feet. So I'm pressing into the hands, pushing my hips back towards my heels. Maybe walking the hands just a little bit more forward, because then we'll inhale to all fours, untucking the toes if that feels okay, and then exhale, beginning to bring the hips towards the mat, lifting the chest, maybe not all the way the first time. We want to be up on the toes when we push back. We can stay up on that toes if it feels okay as we come forward. So dancing cat, warming up the shoulders, wrists, hips. And then the next time we come through all fours, let's pause. Maybe bringing the hands a little closer to the shoulders, spreading those fingers wide, and having the middle of the two peace fingers pointing forward. So remember, when we're looking at our hands, this might be the goal someday with our feet, to be able to spread our toes wide. So we're going to press into our hands, lifting the knees. Let's push the hips back towards the heels, lifting the hips, down dog. Not going to be here too long. Bending the knees, pressing the heels down to the floor. Just a little bit of a stretch of the calf muscles, hopefully, before we get started. And then let's walk the hands back to the feet. Coming into our forward fold. So knees can be deeply bent, belly resting on thighs, fingers reaching down towards the mat. Just going to come forward a bit. Let's sway a few times from side to side. Maybe reaching opposite elbows. And then exhale, fingers back down towards the mat. Inhale, hands to shins, shoulder blades coming down the back. As I'm pressing into my shins, I'm reaching forward with the crown of my head. Maybe that little bit of a peek over the end of the mat. Imagining it's the dock and we're peeking over into the lake. Exhale, fold. Inhale, arms up. Rise up. Exhale, hands to prayer. So I'm just going to turn towards you for a moment. Let's make those wiping motions with the feet, finding the hip distance apart, inhaling the shoulders up to the ears, rolling them down and back, palms forward, closing the eyes if that's comfortable. Mountain pose, Tadasana. Probably one of the number one grounding poses. It's certainly the foundation for all the other standing postures. And I usually give a little lecture that it is a pose. It's not just waiting for the next posture to happen. So my shoulders are back. I'm feeling my shoulders stacked over my hips stacked over my knees stacked over my ankles. I'm really feeling that connection between the bottoms of the feet and thinking it a little bit more as a tripod. So there's the pad underneath the big toe, the pinky toe, and then the heel. So I just want to mention I got all my new foot information from a therapist out of Regina named Sarah Garden. Just been following a couple of her workshops. So feeling that tripod, that's what's really going to help us be stable in our various postures, our balance postures. Though most of our standing postures are balances, if you consider that mountain as a balance. So on the inhale, we're going to come up onto our toes as we bring the arms up. And exhale, hands in front of us, bringing the heels back down. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhale, arms up on the toes as high as you can. Exhale, down. 1 more. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, hands down. Excellent. And then some of you who know, I'm just going to turn to the top of my mat. I've done this before. We're going to be moving through the tippy toe vinyasa this class. So inhale, arms up onto the toes. And then on the exhale, I'm going to bring my arms into cactus and twist to the right. I can lower my heels if I need to. It's perfect. Actually expected if we're wobbling. Inhale back to center. Exhale, twisting to the left. Inhale back to center. Exhale, heels down. Inhale, reaching those arms up to the ceiling. And then exhale, let's sit back as if we're sitting into a chair. Maybe lifting the toes. Inhale, arms up, straightening the legs. Exhale, reverse swan dive to fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. And inhale, arms up. Rise up. Exhale, hands to prayer. So I'm just going to turn towards you again, so hopefully you can see my toes. I'm going to do a little bit of movement with my toes, with our toes. A lot of us are not going to be able to do, including me, the things that I'm mentioning, but it's something that we're going to practice towards. So we can probably lift all our toes and lower. Then let's just lift the big toes and lower. This is where it starts to get a little harder. Just lifting the pinky toes and lower. See if you can just lift the toes in the middle with the big toes and the pinky toe down and lower. And then lifting all the toes. Let's start with the right foot, just putting the big toe, then the ring toe, then the third, fourth, baby, lifting all the left toes, big toe, ring toe. Mine kind of all go down in a clump after that. Third, fourth, and baby. So lifting the toes all together and putting them all down. So that's something that if we continue to work with some of the things, particularly by bringing the toes separately that I've moved through, that we can maybe start getting to that dexterity with our toes like we have with our hands. And again, if you've got the softer balls, practicing grabbing it and picking it up is another really good one. So let's move through one more vinyasa. Inhale, arms up onto the toes. Exhale, twisting right. Inhale through center. Exhale, twisting left. Inhale, center. Exhale, heels down. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, sitting back as if sitting into the chair, maybe having the toes lifted, weights in the heels. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, reverse swan dive. Inhale, half lift, shoulders back. Exhale, fold. And inhale, arms up. Rise up. Exhale, hands to prayer. So you might want to turn to the long edge of your mat. We're going to come into goddess squat. So my feet are a little more than hip distance apart. Toes pointing out. Quick check to make sure that the knees track over the toes. Again, I still want to feel that even with my feet apart, I want to feel that my shoulders are stacked over my hips. So I'm not leaning forward or back. And then it's just as if a weight has been added to my tailbone. I'm dropping it straight down. So how far down we come depends on hips, knees, sometimes even ankles. Let's bring the arms to goddess or to cactus in our goddess squat. We'll hold here for a few breaths. The shoulders are back. Those shoulder blades are trying to touch behind. And then we're going to cycle through lifting the right heel, the left heel, and then both. So the key is I'm trying to keep my hips. You can keep your hands on hips if that helps. I'm trying to keep my hips the same. So the movement's all in the feet and the kind of the hip flexors. So right, left, both. This is definitely a bar move. Right, left, both. One more time. Thighs might be fatiguing, so stopping if needed to. And then inhale. Let's straighten those legs. Quick reach up to 5-pointed star. And exhale, let's lower the arms. Push the heels out so the feet are pointing forward. Hands at the tops of the thighs. Soft knees. Let's come into our wide leg forward fold. Pausing it halfway, maybe tilting a little, pointing that tailbone to the ceiling. And then coming all the way down. You can choose to leave the hands on the legs. Maybe they reach down to the mat. You can have a deep bend in the knees. Chin might come to chest, top of the head hanging heavy. And let's walk both hands over to the left foot, taking the right hand and placing it somewhere on the outside of the left leg, maybe ankle, maybe further up. You can have a deeper bend in that left knee if needed. And then let's take the right hand and place it flat on the low back, opening up that left shoulder. So I'm going to keep my arm where it is. I'm protecting my shoulders a little, but you might reach that left arm up to the ceiling. And then inhale, walking the hands back to center, all the way over to the right. Taking the left hand, placing it somewhere on the outside of the right leg. Again, bending the knee if needed. Right hand on low back, opening up that right shoulder, and maybe reaching the right arm to the ceiling. Inhale, walking the hands back to center. Let's bring a bend to the knees, hands to the sides of the legs, really pressing into the outside edges of the feet to slowly roll ourselves up to standing. Let's heel toe the feet together and move through our tippy toe vinyasa. Inhale, arms up on the toes. Exhale, twist right. Inhale through center. Exhale, twist left. Inhale to center. Exhale, heels down. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, sitting back as if sitting into a chair. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, reverse swan dive, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. And inhale, arms up. Rise up. Exhale, hands to prayer. Let's come back into that goddess squat. Hands on hips or arms in cactus. Whatever's, sometimes I can say hands on hips helps us remember to keep the hips level. This time we're going to go into both the heel lifts right away. So inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. So moving with your own breath, knowing as always when we slow these down, probably even fatiguing the muscles a little more than moving quickly. Let's see if we can do 3 more. One more. Straightening the legs, reaching the arms up. 5-pointed star, maybe slight back bend. Then exhale, lowering the arms. Let's heel toe the feet together. So they're back to hip distance apart. We're going to do a little bit of a toe stretch. So first coming up onto the ball of the foot. And really sort of pushing the rest of the foot forward, pushing the ankle forward to get a stretch in the toes. And then coming up on the toes and rolling forward. So I know there might be some people that this work with the toes is just not available. If that's the case, just pointing and flexing the foot in front of you if this pressure is just too much. Up onto the toes and back. And then inhale, rolling forward. So going back and forth a few times at your own pace and hopefully able to control the pressure. I really like this forward one, stretching the top of the foot. We don't do that very often. And then let's give that foot a few ankle circles, a little shake, move to the other side. So up onto the toes, really pressing the toes in to the mat, and then coming forward. Again, you can control the pressure, but taking the weight right off the foot if this is too much, and pointing and flexing the toes. I know anyone with any kind of bunion issues, though, all these exercises for the feet are really good for helping with bunions. We'll just roll back one more time. And then, a few ankle circles. Give the foot a shake. We'll move through our vinyasa. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, twist right. Whoa. Inhale to center. Wobbly is good. It's building all those muscles. Exhale, build left. Twist left. It's building all those stability muscles. Exhale, heels down. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, sitting back as if sitting into a chair. This time we're going to stay for a few breaths. So again, you can have those arms lifted or coming straight off the shoulders, whatever feels better for the shoulders. And then we're going to move a little. As I sweep my arms back, I'm coming up onto my toes. Same thing, I'm trying to keep my hips where they are. And then as I reach the arms forward, lifting my toes. So back and forth. Exhale, lifting my heels. Inhale, lifting my toes. I'm doing my best to keep my hips low. This can be a lot for the knees though, so just staying in chair if it's not comfortable for the knee joints or the ankle joints. And then one last time up on the toes, lowering the heels. Let's reach the arms all the way up. Reverse swan dive. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Deep bend in the knees to come down to hands and knees. Let's stay up on the toes. Exhale, pushing the hips back. Inhale, forward. Hips towards the mat. Inhale, let's tuck the toes one more time. Walking the hands back and then walking ourselves all the way up onto our toes. So the knees can be wider than hip distance, particularly if, like me, need space for belly or it just feels better for the hips. See if you can bring hands to prayer. So this is our toe stand balance. It's a little different than yogi squat. We do have the heels lifted, balancing on the toes. Again, there should be lots of wobbling. That's good for the stability muscles. Let's take one more breath. And then see, I always imagine I'm squeezing something between my thighs. See how gracefully I can stand up, lowering the heels. Let's definitely give the feet a good shake. And then just sort of like if you do the Hot 26, similar to the awkward pose that we do up on the toes, we'll come up and down a couple times. So I'll come into that shape where we've got the arms straight off the shoulders, lifting the heels, and exhale, slowly lowering. We will come all the way down, resting for a breath or two in toe stand. And then again, I imagine I'm squeezing something between my thighs, coming all the way back up to standing, heels down. Whew. Little shake. So one thing I didn't add to today's class that I'll do some research in, I've been noticing lately that my Achilles are quite tight. So I'm going to see what I can find. I'm sure it's related to my calf muscles, so that's one thing we'll do down on the floor, is stretch those out a little. So let's move through. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, deep bend in the knees. Let's come down to all fours. Let's stretch the hips out a little, dropping the hips to the right, looking over the left shoulder. Inhale through center, hips to the left, looking over the right. Back and forth a couple times. And then we're going to come into noble pose. So that's sitting back on the heels. I know for some people with quads or knees or ankles might make this quite impossible. If you've got a block, you might tuck that between the calves, sitting back. If it's really uncomfortable, bring the feet out in front. So just sitting back on the heels for a lot of us is a stretch in the foot. So if you do have feet out in front, if this is just not a comfortable pose for you at all, just again point and flex the feet. Coming into this one just applies a little more weight and pressure. So if you think it might feel okay, you can bring the hands behind and lift the knees. So that's stretching the tops of the feet, the ankles. And then inhale, coming back forward. Let's come all the way onto all fours. Let's stretch the left foot behind. Now this may or may not be effective if your mat's not very sticky. But coming up onto the toes and pressing the heels back. Bending the knee. Pressing back. So my mat's not as sticky as my B mat, but I'm still feeling a stretch in my calf muscle. Many females have tight calf muscles. It's certainly something I've had for many, many years. And I think a lot of the other issues I have with tight muscles, let's change sides, is probably related to my calf muscles being too tight. Knee forward. So not knowing what everyone has for wall availability. Maybe at the end of this class, you can do the stretch where you've got 1 foot forward, 1 foot behind, pressing the heel back. Stretching the calves. We'll just sit back for a moment. Or you can come up to the wall, putting the toe up on the wall and the heel back and leaning forward, stretching that way. It'd be worth it after all that work we did to make sure the calves are really nice and stretched out. So let's bring the knees wide, toes to touch behind, hips back towards the heels. It doesn't matter if they touch. Reaching the arms forward, forehead on the mat. Maybe placing one hand on top of each other. Maybe stacking fists. Whatever it is that you need to come to make that posture a little more available. Reaching the arms forward. Maybe even, well, they've come out of that shape, but maybe even, I think most of you are familiar with, you can bring your hands together on the mat, maybe even lifting them up behind the head, fingers pointed to the ceiling. This is that Sanjali Mudra. So this is a posture of humility. And I like to think it's a posture of gratitude as well. So maybe when I first mentioned it at the beginning of the practice, you thought about that person, place, experience, smell, taste, touch that grounds you. So just a moment of gratitude that you have that person, place, or activity. A lot of people get grounded even though they might be flying off jumps on a mountain bike. That's what grounds them, is to get out doing where they are focusing on what they're doing. It's a lot like a walking meditation. It's hard to worry or make up things that may or may not happen when you have to worry about whether you're going to keep your bike on two wheels. I heard a really good quote recently, and I know it's easier said than done when it comes to worry, but worry is a liar. I thought that was a really simple statement and so true. So often the things we worry about don't happen. Easily as often as they do, if not more. 2 more breaths here. And then just before we come up, let's walk the hands all the way off the left side of the mat. Maybe placing the right hand on top of the left. And bringing the forehead back down if that's available. And just deeply stretching the right side. And then slowly walking the hands all the way off the right side of the mat. Maybe the left hand on top of the right. Forehead down. Stretching the left side. Inhale the arms back to center. Let's come up onto all fours, rolling onto the right or left hip. Bringing the legs out in front of us. We're going to come onto our backs. Knees bent. And then we have a choice here. This is somewhere where I would normally have us put a block beneath the flat part of our low back, but I don't know what everyone has. So we have a couple choices. If we lift the right leg, we can keep the left leg bent. But if it's okay for your back, you might stretch it out. You can keep this right leg lifted on its own, or it might feel a little more supportive to interlock the hands and hold behind the thigh or hold the sides of the thigh. And let's come into our ankle circles. Changing direction. So one really good thing we can do for our feet every day is get our legs up, get our feet above our head. Let's point and flex. And for those of us that aren't going to be coming into headstand or handstand, legs up the wall is a great way. Calming. And it's giving the heart a chance to replenish the blood in the bottoms of the feet. And let's lower that right leg. Lifting up the left. Slow ankle circles. So getting that fresh blood easily replaced. It's just going to help nourish all the tissues of the feet. Changing direction. I'm not going to get any more anatomical than that. And then pointing the toes, flexing the feet. And then lowering that Let's lift the right foot. Actually, let's lift both feet one more time, coming into happy baby. So holding the foot wherever it's comfortable for you, outside, inside, maybe at the ankles or behind the thighs. And then just seeing if you can bring your fingertips to just below the pad of the foot. If this isn't accessible, don't worry about it. It's just a little extra stretch of the bottom of the foot. It even involves the stretch of the calves just a little bit more. You can still rock from side to side. It's kind of like the gorilla hold. And then we can exhale, release. Let's bring the feet to the outside edges of the mat. And let the knees windshield wiper back and forth a few times. And then let's set up for bridge pose. So feet hip distance, heels as close to the sit bones as you can bring them. Hands at the sides, palms down. Inhale, let's lift to the hips. So I'm trying not to let my knees splay open. So I may be imagining I'm squeezing a block between my thighs. On the inhale, I'm lifting from the chest right through to the hips. And on the exhale, imagining that squeeze. Let's stay here for 3 or 4 more breaths. Always knowing that you can lower when you need to. And then exhale, lowering the hips back down. Let's bring the soles of the feet together, letting the knees fall open. We'll take a few breaths of just letting all the muscles relax. And then I'm not necessarily going to lift my hips from this shape, though that is something I've taught in the past. I'm just going to focus on pressing the bottoms of my feet together. So it's very subtle. You probably don't see a change when you look at mine or even look at your own body, but you're probably feeling it a little bit more in the inner thigh. So I'm squeezing the feet and then release. So it probably engages the glutes. So pressing the feet together and release. Let's do that 3 or 4 more times with your own breath. Inhale, pressing together. Exhale, release. Last one. Maybe holding for a breath or 2 with the feet pressed together. And then on an exhale, release. Let's bring the feet to the outside edges of the mat and let the knees come in towards each other. Just a little bit of a counter stretch. And then we'll come into bridge one more time. I do want us to keep our hands flat as we are going to do something a little different with our feet. So on the inhale, lifting the hips, maybe adjusting the shoulder blades a little, keeping the knees hip distance apart. Let's come up on the right toe, lifting the right heel and down. Left toe down, and then both toes down. So cycling between right, left, both. Now if this is putting pressure on the low back, stop lifting the heels. We don't ever want to do anything by sacrificing the low back. We tend to do that all the time, where we let it do the work when the other muscles get tired. So one more round, as long as that feels okay. And then let's hold up on the toes for a couple breaths. Exhale, lowering the heels, lowering the hips. Again, bringing the soles of the feet together. We're not going to press the feet this time. I'm just letting all the muscles relax. Maybe even left hand on heart, right hand on belly. A couple breaths. Inhale, slowly bringing the knees back together, feet to the outside edges of the mat. Let's let the knees go right or left a few times. And then let's sit up part way, hands behind the back. Left foot, probably not a deep, like we'll change the bend in the knee once we get there. I'm going to cross my right ankle in front of my left knee, and then just bend that left knee deeper as needed to get a deeper stretch in that right hip. So everyone's going to probably be in a little bit different shape. So it's just a little bit different version of thread the needle without having to pull the knee towards the body. I can just change the bend or the angle of that left knee. It'll deepen the stretch in my right hip. If this is too much for the shoulders, you could always come down onto forearms as well. And then changing sides, starting maybe with the least bend, and then seeing, I know this is my leg that doesn't want to bend quite as easily, so I might have to hold it. Keeping the chest lifted. Maybe deepening the bend in the right knee as you can increase the stretch. Excellent. Releasing the legs back down, coming all the way onto the back. Let's pull both knees into the chest, giving them a nice tight squeeze, maybe rolling a few times from side to side. And then let's do one final lifting both legs up towards the ceiling. A couple of final ankle circles, and pointing and flexing. And either both at the same time. You can have a deep bend in the knees if needed. Let's slowly lower the legs down to the mat. Usually when it gets to about here, the counting goes a little faster. And lower. Bringing the feet wide, maybe arms out at the sides, coming into your favorite shape for Shavasana, maybe covering the body. Maybe you're lucky enough to have an eye pillow at home or a face cloth to cover the eyes. Ooh. This will be a challenge for my eyes. I brought a very tiny print meditation. So let's take a big deep breath in through your nose. Hold. And then exhale through your mouth. Take another deep breath in through your nose. Fill the lungs completely. Hold. And release the breath through your mouth. Empty the lungs completely with your out breath. Take a third deep breath in, hold. And then exhale, allowing your breath to carry away all stress and tension. Feel yourself relaxing more and more deeply with each breath. Bring your awareness to your feet and toes. Breathe in deeply through your nose, and as you do, gradually curl your toes down, tensing the muscles in the feet. Hold. And release the muscles in your feet as you breathe out. Bring your awareness to your calf muscles. Breathe in deeply, and as you do, point your toes toward your knees and tighten these muscles. Hold. And then let these muscles go limp as you exhale. Now take a deep breath in and tense the muscles in your thighs. Hold. Then release these muscles. Focus on letting them go limp and loose. Draw in a nice deep breath and gradually tighten the muscles in your buttocks. Hold. And then release. Feel the tension leaving your muscles. Feel them relaxing completely. Draw in a nice deep breath and tighten the muscles in your stomach. Hold. Now release your breath and let your muscles relax. Bring your awareness to the muscles in your back as you slowly breathe in and arch your back slightly and tighten these muscles. Now release your breath and let the muscles relax. Pull your shoulders up towards your ears, squeezing the muscles as you breathe in deeply. Now breathe out. Let your contracted muscles go loose and limp. Feel the heaviness in your body now. Breathe in again, clenching your fists and tightening the muscles in your arms. Squeeze the muscles as you hold your breath. Now release and gently breathe all the way out. Let your arms and hands go loose and limp. Now tighten the muscles in your face by squeezing your eyelids shut and clenching your lips together. Breathe in, hold. Now breathe out and relax all the muscles in your face. Feel your face softening. Take a deep breath in and then open your mouth as wide as you can. Feel your jaw muscles stretching and tightening. Now exhale and allow your mouth to gently close. Take in one final deep breath in. Fill your lungs completely, hold, and then release and relax. Let all that air carry away every last molecule of tension. I'll bring you back in a moment. Begin to take in a deeper breath, bringing some awareness back to your body. Opening and closing your hands a few times. moving the feet. Might reach the arms up overhead, giving yourself a big good morning stretch. Bringing the knees into the chest, giving them a nice tight squeeze. Be rolling a few times from side to side, if that's okay for the back. Eventually landing on your right or left side. Taking a few breaths in this fetal position. And then when you're ready, bringing yourself back up to seated. Closing your eyes when you get there. I just wanted to mention before I close with a proverb I meant to mention at the top of the class. Next week I'm going to teach a class with a chair as a prop. So a chair, certainly I will try to offer some options too for anyone for any reason wants to remain seated. And then I'll teach the class as well where we're using the chair for a prop. So have a kitchen chair or a folding chair handy next week. So bringing your hands into prayer, maybe pressing the thumbs just below the bottom of the neck and the sternum. This is a proverb. A tree with strong roots laughs at storms. Thank you very much for sharing your practice with me this morning. Namaste.